Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Agency Hour, live here, I would say, from the city of Melbourne, which is the most livable city in the world. True story. Well, it was for about 20 years until Vienna in Austria knocked us off our perch. Go figure. Haven't been to Vienna, but I'm sure it can't be as good as Melbourne. However, today we're actually coming to you from multiple locations here in Australia and across the United States, which we'll talk about in a moment. But for those of you who are watching this, you might notice I have an empty guitar-shaped tequila bottle on my desk. Now, full transparency, I don't really drink tequila. It makes me sick because the last time I drank it, I was sick. So I don't really drink it a lot. However, my friend Mike Baker, who I actually had a jam with out in the States recently when I was out there, he gave this to me, caused me all sorts of trouble getting it back into the country without it breaking into a million pieces. Had to wrap it up in bubble wrap and underwear to get it back in. I'm sure you wanted to know that. But here it is. It now sits on set in the Agency Hour. I'm going to put it on the shelf behind me, but I wanted to show you, Mike Baker. It made it home, buddy. Here it is. Here's the guitar-shaped tequila bottle. More importantly, today we have a very special announcement. We're going to be introducing you to our new coaches here at Agency Mavericks, which we're very excited about. By the way, if you are not watching this and you're just listening to it, please get on over to our Facebook page. You know how to find it, facebook.com/Agency Mavericks. And I believe we might even also be streaming this onto YouTube. Woof, look out. There will be some comments coming in from the different platforms that we'll have a look at during the show. And yes, Mitch Britt has determined that there are 2 drinking vessels on my desk this morning. I don't know how this meme started, but anyway, people just need to get out of the house more and stop worrying about how many drinking vessels I have on my desk. Right, without further ado, I'd like to, this Restream platform I'm loving, by the way, really enjoying using Restream and loving everything about it. And it's good to have Max back, who now is a dad. He is back in the producer's seat. It's good to have him switching and pushing the buttons so I don't have to worry about it. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce one of my co-hosts from today's show, all the way from New York, Pete Crispy Butter Perry. Love it. Love the intro, mate.
It just doesn't get old.
How are you, brother?
I'm doing well, man. I'm kind of pissed at you, though.
Oh, why's that?
Why didn't I know about the tequila when we were in San Diego?
Because it was empty, dude. This is the thing. Mike gave me an empty tequila bottle. I'm like, well, 2 things. 1, it's shaped like a guitar, so well done. 2, I don't really drink tequila, so thanks for drinking it first. I can't even open the lid because it's still, smells like tequila, which is, I'm not that age anymore. But there it is. There's this tequila bottle. How have you recovered from Mavcon, my friend?
I have recovered very well. It was a good time, man. It was an emotional time.
It was.
That's for sure.
You and I both teared up on stage at one point.
A little emotional a couple times.
Yeah.
I think the most amazing thing for me is just witnessing the community that we've been able to build and watching them come together and like seeing friendships be formed. We saw 2 of our Mavericks posted today that they got together over in Oakland or San Francisco or somewhere over in there. And, they become good buddies, and it's just awesome. It's just awesome to watch that community grow and see all that happen.
It is. Cool. I had feedback from people who were at Mavcon and then went to another large conference in San Diego. I think it was a couple of weeks after Mavcon, and I'm not going to say what the conference was.
Begins with a T and a C, I think.
I have a lot of respect for the people that run that conference. But anyway, we had a much, much smaller conference, about 50 people, and some people who were at both conferences said that our conference was better. So I don't know. Maybe it's just more intimate. I mean, it's hard to have
more
that
intimate. It's definitely more intimate
community at that kind of scale. But also, the thing I like about Mavcons is there's no pitch. Like, no one's there trying to sell you anything, right? It's an event to help agency owners connect, really, and collaborate and create and support each other. And it's super fun. One of my highlights was seeing how unprepared Sean Clark was from high level. That was hilarious, I thought. He knocked it out of the park in the end, but he was like, so I haven't seen these slides until now, so this will be interesting. It's like someone did the slides for him. He turned up and just nailed it, and it was hilarious. That's usually my shtick. But
we gave him, we had a 45-minute slot for him, and I think his slides finished in 8 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. He was like, so we got any questions? I'm like, hang on a second. I have some questions, Sean. Let's unpack this and just slow down a bit. So that was fun. And also, you had planned to surprise me at Mavcon and then kind of had second thoughts. Walk us through your thought process there. What happened?
So so first of all, we're adding new Mavericks left and right lately. And we only have the 3 coaches, me, Johnny Flash, and Christina Hawkins. So I decided it was time to hire some new coaches, and I reached out to 2 people that I knew I wanted to be our next coaches, and I crossed my fingers and said a couple prayers that they would say yes. And then during that process, I said to Emily, maybe we should just surprise them at Mavcon and just announce it to everybody, including Troy. And she thought that was a great idea, and I thought that was a great idea. And then about a week later, we both thought that was a really, really horrible idea. So we changed our minds, and I sat you down and had a coffee and told you I hired 2 new coaches a couple of days before the actual event. Because in hindsight, you probably would have had a heart attack and or fired me, one or the other.
So what's interesting is you know me so well because it's like look, who was it? Bill Burr once said that his wife is always like, man, you go from 0 to 100 in seconds flat, and he's like, I idle at 80. Right? There is no 0. And I kind of vibrate at a pretty high frequency, and that causes a little bit of anxiety. And so when you told me what had happened, I was like, awesome, this is great. I have some questions, of course, but this is awesome, right? And obviously I have some questions. And so if you'd announced that Monday morning while I was on stage in front of all the Mavericks, I would have probably looked for the earth to open up and swallow me, because I would have been like, oh, hang on a second, I have some questions. It's
Right.
great.
So,
I love the fact that you've done it, and I love the autonomy that you guys have. But obviously, I just had some questions, and
sure, of course.
and
you're allowed to have questions at your company. Yeah, no, it literally, the conversation I had with Emily, I think I said, look, he gets a little anxious about the first day of an event anyway. Like, you want all the T's crossed and I's dotted and every light perfect and everything like that. So I was like, you know what? The last thing I need to do is bring that on him 5 minutes into the event.
Good decision.
He might wet himself.
Yes, that's right. By the way, just for the other coaches who we're about to introduce in a moment, which I think is the worst kept secret in the history of badly kept secrets. But anyway, the questions were not about their expertise. It was logistical questions. It was about how we manage squadrons, how we manage communications. It was nothing to do with, the selection of coaches, because I think the selection is excellent. So anyway, I'm not going to steal your thunder, brother. I'm going to let you introduce our new coaches to our community.
Okay. Well, as you said, this is the world's worst kept secret. I think I'll start by introducing the giant head on the poster board that we led with. I saw that this morning and I was like, is this the
whole
coaches
position
that were eaten by the giant Jennie? What's that all about? Sorry, Max. So the first coach that I will introduce, because ladies first, is Jennie Lakenan, who comes from. Well, I'll let you give your own bio. But Jennie and I met. I don't know, what was that? 2018.
2019. Early 2019.
No.
Yeah,
I think it was October 2018. No, was it February 2019? Yeah, maybe right. Well, we met then at a live event. She then became a Maverick. She then impressed the hell out of me, and I'll let you tell your own story, actually.
It was 2019. It was in Santa Monica, wasn't it?
Santa Monica. Yeah, it was Santa Monica.
Yeah, that's right.
It was June 2019 in Santa Monica.
June 2019.
Wow. I thought it was later. I thought it was earlier than that.
I remember Pete coming over to me at one point. We're at the bar in Santa Monica, and I remember Pete come over to me at some point and interrupting my conversation. He's like, dude, you have to come and meet Jennie. She's awesome. She's amazing. Like, she's like so smart and super, like, you have to come and meet Jennie. I'm like, okay, dude, I'll come and meet Jennie. And he dragged me over to meet Jennie, and turns out he was right. So there you go.
Yeah. And then the next thing I knew, you were talking to her for like 3 hours.
Yeah. So Jennie, who are you? What are you doing?
Who are you?
What are you
Tell
doing
us all
here?
about you.
Yeah, so I am a digital agency owner serving coaches. So most of my clients are life coaches, but we also get business coaches and other kinds of coaches. And I am just super passionate about life coaching and mindset, and my why behind my digital agency and like our values there are really, we want to get as much coaching into the world as possible because it's just really important. And I think that that's becoming, it's becoming more mainstream to focus on mindset and life coaching and stuff, but it's still kind of a relatively new idea. So that's kind of me as an agency owner. I founded the business in late 2018, early 2019. So kind of around when I found Agency Mavericks. I am also a certified life coach myself. Around the same time that I started my business, I also certified as a coach. And I thought that I would go full time with the coaching thing, and that the web design would be just sort of like a side gig to get me, kind of going and until the coaching business took off. But really, once I certified, I was like, you know what? I love serving these clients. I love serving coaches because I can get way more coaching out there by doing websites for coaches than I can just by strictly coaching myself. But now it's really cool, like full circle, just to be able to like be here in Agency Mavericks and serving this community as a coach, like this community that I'm so passionate about that has helped me grow my business so much. Yeah, that's me. I'm Kansas City based, Kansas City, Missouri. I've got 3 little kids, 8 and under, all girls.
So. Wow, 3 girls under 8. Whoa, that is hectic.
It is.
Yeah. I have one girl.
You were able to work your husband out of a job, right?
Yeah. That was why I wanted to start a business, was because he was miserable at his job. And I was like, I got to do something. And I thought it was going to be coaching, but then it turned out, nope, it's web design for coaches. And yeah, he quit his job just a couple of months into the business. So
wow, that's a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
How did
she accelerated very quickly.
Yes, that is true. Did you, but it's still a leap of faith, right? Did you, let's park here for a second. Did you have a lot of recurring revenue at that point, or were you just like project work? You were just confident the projects were going to keep coming in?
Yeah, we were exclusively project. I don't think I had any recurring revenue yet.
Wow.
And it was a leap of faith, but like we contemplated on it, and we prayed real hard, and then it was like, this is just what we need to do. And worst case scenario, like he goes back to work, right? Like it wasn't,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun and scary.
Yeah. Awesome. I just want to park you for a second about the coaching thing, because there's a lot of I don't know whether it's a cultural thing. I know in Australia there's a lot of skepticism around coaching, particularly life coaching, right? There's skepticism around business coaching, but there's a lot of skepticism around life coaching. And I think the Australian mindset, maybe it's true in the States as well, but the Australian mindset is that, like, that's like one step away from having a shrink. And if you have a shrink, you're a bit nuts, right? And you got to be, and it's a weakness. And it's like, why can't you figure it out yourself? And it's all a bit woo-woo. And maybe you're a bit of a tosser for like getting a life, like who gets a life coach? How important do you think you are that you need a life coach? There's all that kind of messaging that it's just ingrained in us, right? I mean, not me anymore, obviously. I mean, I have coaches for everything. I have coaches for my coaches. So, and I'm actually hoping to become a better coach through hanging out with you, Jennie, full transparency. Exactly. I don't actually think I'm a very good coach. But how do you overcome those objections when you hear people kind of poo-poo the whole idea of coaching? Is that something that you come across, and how do you kind of approach that?
Well, there are a couple of different things that come to mind. The first is like, well, I'm not here to convince you if you really just want to be a skeptic. Right. But then on the other hand, there are actual like medical studies that are being published now, at least in the States, about how life coaching improves health outcomes, like actual scientific studies using the scientific method. It's not just like an opinion thing. It's not all woo woo. It's like, here are statistics about how life coaching improves outcomes. And, you know, I think that like, that's if someone really wants like hard proof, that's what I would point them to, is like, look, like just go read some of those medical studies and see how it's actually making a difference in people's lives, and give it a go, you know? And if it doesn't improve your life, then okay, then convince me, but it does. So
yeah.
I'm not worried about that.
My theory is that people avoid coaching because they're afraid, right? Because they're scared of what's going to come up. They're scared of having to confront their own shit and take responsibility. That's kind of my theory. But it manifests in a whole bunch of different ways. Super, super excited to have you here on the coaching team. And I mean, it was when Pete announced who the coaches were, it was like, well, of course. I mean, well done, well played. I mean, we've been talking about it for months. So super excited to have you here. What do you think your superpower is? Like, if an agency owner comes to you and they're stuck, what do you think you're putting you totally on the spot here? But what do you think your superpower is in being able to help them kind of keep moving in the right direction?
Oh yeah. I don't know if people are going to like this answer, but this is the first thing that comes to mind, is like, I'm just really good at not believing your story. You know, we all have that story about like, well, I can't do this. Like for me, it was memberships. Like, I can't do memberships because they're hard and they're big and they're scary. And my coach was like, how was a membership different from any other website? And she totally didn't know anything about memberships, which was great, because then it helped her to like not believe my story about how they were big and scary. And now I do them and it's fine. But like, just for, you know, for agency owners that are going to come to me and they're going to be telling me their story that they think is fact, and that it's the circumstances. Like, no, this is just your thinking. This is your story around that. And how can we unpack that? And like, I'm not here to take that story away from you, but let's just show you how it's not serving you and not helping you move forward in the ways that you want to. And then you can decide, okay, is that really a story that I want to keep, or do I want to change it?
Love it. Love it. Yes. Awesome. Pete, shall we bring on the riffraff?
No, let's let him wait. Okay, so our other new coach is also someone I met February. Actually, we met him February 2020.
We did.
He came in right before the pandemic. You guys have all, if you've been listening to us talk for the last 2 years, you've heard us talk about both Jennie and Adam, but Adam Silverman is our other new coach.
Hey, what's up?
And so the number one reason I hired Adam is so that I can help him get that tractor.
Love it, love it, love it. Yeah. Talk to us about the tractor, Adam.
Well, you know, I live on a farm in Williamsport, Tennessee. I'm about an hour south of Nashville. And, you know, as I've gotten, we'll say slightly older, I don't like particularly sitting out in the 98-degree burning hot temperature on the tractor. And so I've been looking at tractors for probably 2 to 3 years, but you know, they're expensive. You can almost buy a house here for what it costs to get a cab tractor. So Pete's been joking with me, it's just time to buy it. I'm like, I don't think you understand. It's like, it's about as much commitment as having a child. So I'm you know, kind of trying to figure that one out, but yeah, one day soon it's going to happen.
Awesome. I want to ride the tractor one day and come out to the farm and jam in the shed and ride the tractor. That would be a cool story. Hey, when you joined, I remember when you joined Mavericks Club in February 2020. How were you feeling? Because my perception was like you were like a rabbit in the headlights. I've said this many times. You were like overwhelmed and like slightly terrified, but super enthusiastic. How did you feel coming into this world and kind of making the commitment that, all right, it's time to grow. I can't just kind of stay small.
Yeah, I guess like just all my career experience before doing the agency world told me that, you know, asking for help was smart. Like, you know, I figured out really, really fast that like doing it by yourself is really difficult, and doing it with people that are already doing well was much easier. And so I was overwhelmed, but in like a really good way, where I felt like, geez, I'm around all these people that really know how to do this, and they have different skills than I do, and I can learn a lot. And so I think it was more excitement for me than it was like fear. I wasn't like scared of it. It was just, it was a big step to sort of open up and like let people know that I didn't know everything that I was doing.
So not only the financial and time commitment, but also the commitment to kind of be vulnerable and ask for help.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. It's hard to ask. It's people have this perception that when someone owns a business, like they magically know how to do everything, right? And so it was always this fear of like, well, if I let people know that I don't know how to do everything, like, I personally can't design, or, there's just lots of things that I don't do. And I thought that was a weakness. And of course, I've learned over time, like now I don't really touch any of the tools at all. And so, just like the perception that you have when you're inexperienced versus experienced, it just looks a lot different.
I think the truth is that people who own a business don't know how to do anything except they don't. The one thing they don't know how to do is be employed, right? Everything else they're just trying to figure out. But what they don't know how to do is be an employee, and that's why they have their own business. They've got to walk to the beat of their own drum, and everything else kind of comes later. I know we've done a case study on this, and Greg came down to the farm and shot a beautiful video, which we've used a lot. But can you just tell a little bit of the story about why you got into the agency business in the first place?
Yeah, for sure. So I was a professional musician. I was a drummer, and I toured and did session work out of Nashville, and I was gone all the time. And so, as I met my who's now my wife, Heather, once I met her, that started to get really, really tough for me. It just being, I would be gone for 10, 18, 22 days at a time, planes to buses to wherever, just playing. And it just exhausted me. And what was crazy is, I was programming at the time. I taught myself how to code. And at one point, I think I realized, like, I was sitting on the bus in the morning, like I got up, I had breakfast, backstage, the whole thing, drums are all set up by somebody else. And I'm sitting backstage, and I worked for about 4 hours coding. And I realized that I had made more money in those 4 hours than I was going to make that entire weekend of being gone. And so for me, it was kind of like wait a minute, like, what in the world am I doing? Like, why am I still forcing this? And so it just eventually became like it was both a financial and a family decision, where I just said, hey, I don't want to travel anymore. I don't want to do that part of the industry anymore. So I still do session work, but I haven't been on a bus in probably 8 years or so now.
And at what point did you realize that you didn't want to just be you and a couple of freelancers helping you out, but you actually wanted to grow a business?
I think I knew that from the beginning. Like, I think I knew it pretty much right away. I always felt like, once I started coding, I realized, well, I need a designer. And then it was like, well, I need a project manager. And so the way that I did it was I filled in all the things that I literally could not do or hated doing. Pete at some point had some spreadsheet or something that showed me how to like figure this out, right? It was like to put all the things in here. And, I did that, and I went, oh, like, so I knew I needed a designer. I knew I needed a PM. And then over time, it just kept developing. But I started the company with the intention of having a large team.
Why? Because it's easier to stay small, right?
Because I'm crazy. Because I don't know how to do things that way. Well, I mean, honestly, like, I'm just kind of that guy that I got to go all the way. Like, I have to see like how big something can get, or what's possible. And so yeah, I just never came in going, I'm going to keep this small. Like, I came in, the very first goal setting I wrote that by what would be this time next year, like, I wanted to have 20 employees. And so I came into it thinking I want this to be pretty big.
I've heard Seth Godin talk about this a lot, the difference between your safety zone and the comfort zone, right? And that your safety zone is actually outside your comfort zone, because staying in your comfort zone is really dangerous. And I'll just translate this to our world. If you're a freelancer essentially, and you've got a couple of contractors who help you, and you're only earning revenue when you're on the tools. I got a buddy of mine who's a photographer. He photographs all the actors in Australia. He's got an amazing portfolio, right? Great SEO, awesome business. He's the only photographer. He went to the States with his wife recently, 4-week holiday, came back. He said, I'm 25 grand in the hole. Like, I spent 10 grand on the holiday and there's 15 grand I didn't earn because I wasn't I'm like, dude, there's no leverage in what you're doing at all. You're literally trading time for money. That he's comfortable there. The idea of doing anything bigger than that is scary for him. But ultimately, I think he knows that he's at risk, because at some point he's not going to, he's my age, right? He's not going to want to click the button anymore. He's just going to get over it. But it's way easier to do that, right? So were you like, I just don't want to get trapped, or are you just kind of like, I just need to build the thing to see if I can build the thing? Did you even realize that by building a team that you would free yourself up?
Honestly, no, not at first. So it really was more about, I just want to see what I can build, right? Like, and it's kind of my personality. Like, when I moved to Nashville to play drums, there's like 9,000 people a month that moved here to play music, and about 0.2% play professionally. And so for me, once I did that and figured out all I have to do is like put my mind to it and work. If I just work hard, I can do something like that. And so for me, it was, now I know how to code. I wonder how big I can grow this thing. And then once I figured out, okay, well now, there's more to it than just coding. There's design, there's UI, there's branding, there's lead gen. That, once I started like seeing everybody doing these other things, I started thinking, I wonder how big, I could get this business to be. I never thought about it in terms of like freeing myself off the work, because I really liked coding. For me, it was more about, it started being more about like, how can I serve these clients the best way that I can? And then over time, it pivoted into, well, now I need programmers because I don't want to code anymore. Like, I just kind of want to get out and start running the business. And so, yeah, that's probably my perspective, is always going to be trying to get people to avoid doing the thing, like find someone to do the thing that you need done. Because, you just get stuck. It's like you can get stuck messing around with tools and changing platforms and all the things, it's like, and you're really no good to the business when you're doing that. So I think like that's probably my angle, is always going to be stop touching the keyboard, like just put it away. If you can put it away, you can change your whole world.
Yeah, you and I, a question for both of you in a second. You and I have had this joke for a while now. Is like I used to hold up the keyboard on coaching calls and say, the more I'm touching this, the less money we make and the less valuable the business is. Like, I just got to get off this thing and stop looking at the computer screen. Question for both of you. Adam, you first. What does your team look like these days in terms of like numbers and makeup? What do they do?
Yeah, so I've got, let's see, there's a full-time project manager, full-time operations or general manager. I've got 3 full-time designers, basically 3 full-time devs, a marketing team. And then with Simon and Digital Edge, there's about 5 people over there that I work with pretty consistently. And then I actually run operations for my wife's farm as well. And she's got 2 employees. I mean, between all across all the things, I probably manage between 20 and 30 people at this point.
Wow. Awesome. Well done. Jennie, what does your team look like these days?
Yeah, so mine's a little bit smaller. We've got 3 core part-time, including me, kind of because I don't work full-time, 3 core members of the team, and then 5 or 6 contractors that are kind of like adjacent, but not core, in that they don't meet with us, that are like, weekly team meetings and whatnot. So the core is me, a part-time front-end developer, and then our part-time care plan manager.
You've never worked full-time in this business though, have you? Right from the...
I mean, I did in the first like year and a half or so. Yeah. And then after that,
when it was just you. Well, just you and your designer, really.
When it was just me, and then maybe like 6 months after that, as I was sort of training and getting processes in place and stuff. And then after that, I started to realize like, oh, I don't need to work 40 hours a week. Like
Mhm.
just looking at there's just not stuff to put there on the calendar. And then we decided to have another kid. And so I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to cut way back. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that's something that you've spoken about in the past, is that you're really, really intentional and committed to spending a lot of time with your kids at this stage of their life and at this age. And so you've I really admire how you've put boundaries around yourself and around your time so that it doesn't impact that commitment and that intention to have that family time.
Yeah, I try to just be really intentional. Like I don't really care how much I'm working, 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week. It's great. I don't mind working full time, but I don't want to, I just want to make sure that the time I'm spending at my desk or creating content or what have you is intentionally that. And I'm not like, at 7 p.m. kind of getting the kids' teeth brushed and checking my email and, like that's sloppy. Like I can't, I've done that before and I'm, like I'm not shaming anyone that does that. Cause I mean, I definitely have my moments, but like I try really hard not to do that just cause it's just not the kind of family structure that I want to have.
It's super interesting that my wife started choir again last night, right? This is, trust me, this is relevant, people. My wife started choir again last night, and she's like, so typically what happens is if my wife has to go anywhere, it takes her like half an hour to get out of the house because the kids they would just not let her go. Like physically, they would just grab her legs and they just will not let her leave the building, right? And it's usually World War III for her to get out of the house. Which is a good thing, right? Because she's a great mum and they're very attached to her, which is awesome. They hate me, which is, a whole other thing, which we're working on. So anyway, she says, I'm going to leave early. I'm going to go out for dinner with a friend and then we're going to go to choir. I'm like, no worries. Awesome. So I get home last night from the office and, it's about, I don't know, 6 o'clock or something, and she's getting ready to go. And I'd already made the decision that when I got home, from the time I get home, and I'm super pumped about a whole bunch of stuff going on in the business right now, right? Like I cannot sleep. I'm so freaking excited about what's going on. But I made a decision when I get home until Oscar is in bed, which is about 8 o'clock, I am going to be 100% present and focused on these kids. I'm not going to think about anything else, right? It's hard for me to do. Oh, I had the best night with the kids last night. No dramas. It was just the absolute best time. I learned so much about Oscar and his complete and utter obsession with Octonauts and his insane memory. That kid is a complete freak of nature. And Goldie, I just feel like she, in the last couple of weeks, like her communication, and she makes up her own little songs, and I'm just watching her grow up in front of me. Now, in the past, if I've been distracted and I'm like trying to put them to bed, but I want to hurry up and put them to bed because I want to get back to something else that I'm doing, it's World War III. They can smell it a mile away, right? And I feel this tension because I'm trying to put them to bed, but I just want them to go to bed so I can get back and do my thing. Whereas if I just made the decision to be fully present with them. And here's the thing for me that's changed a lot over the years is that, and I know it sounds like a cliche, but the team who are now able to do so much that frankly, the first half of this week I was in bed really sick with a really bad headache and a temperature, and I didn't turn up to a whole bunch of meetings, and it didn't really matter because Emily and Pete have been bringing me up to speed and it's all good, right? So the fact that I can disconnect from the business and just be fully present and not even worry. And if it was just me back in the day, I wouldn't be able to switch my brain off because there's no one else to catch the ball, right? And so just having that support and structure from the team has allowed me to be really present with my family when I'm with my family, and then really present at work when I'm at work. And I think that's it's a much nicer experience for everyone, really, because the kids don't feel like, dad is. I read this post once in a parenting group that I'm in where the kids were like, Mum, we want you to take us to the playground. The dad's like, I'll take you to the playground. And the kids are like, you're always on your phone at the playground. Like, and they're like 6 and 7 years old. I'm like, yeah, man. Like that's something that we've been really intentional about, is just not having devices when we're with the kids, because, it's a distraction. So anyway, rant over.
In a few years, you'll have to be intentional about making sure your children don't have their phones when they're with you. It switches.
Oh, dude, Goldie's already, like, Oscar is like the phone is like the television now. It's like we have to monitor device time, and Goldie's she's discovered the phone and she gets it. And the thing is, Oscar's actually a really good photographer, so he'll get one of our phones, and then you pick the phone up half an hour later, and you're like, holy shit, check out these pictures of dinner. That's amazing. That belongs in a recipe book. He's just like off destroying something else.
Well, we do have a Maverick who's looking for a photographer. So
yeah.
Hey, quick question for you both. What human beings are, I think we're born to solve problems. If we don't choose the problems that we solve, then life just kind of throws problems at us. What problem are you trying to solve right now? Start with Jennie, maybe. Like, what are you trying to figure out at the moment?
Oh, it's such a good question. I recently launched a course. So I have my agency, right, where I do done-for-you services of building websites. And I recently launched a course that serves the new coach who, they don't have the cash and the resources to spend on a really fancy, all brand new website, but they need a website. They need their first website for their coaching business. And so I made a course that teaches them how to make just like the super simple website to help attract their ideal clients. And I give them templates to, set it all up. And it's really simple. Anyway, so I'm trying to figure out now, how do I market 2 different offers on my website and to my email list in a way where they don't compete with each other, but anyway, so it's more of a marketing thing. Like as you add new offers to your business, how do you still do it to keep it simple, but also communicate effectively who they're both a good fit for? And I think that, as we add new signature systems and stuff to our business like that, it's just a kind of a question that comes up. That's my thing.
Awesome. Love it. I might be able to help you with that. We should have a chat offline. By the way, Dave Foy is watching the show. Dave Foy, it's late where you are, brother. What are you doing? You should be in bed. Hey, Dave Foy. Good to see you, dude. Thanks for hanging about. He's one of my favorite humans, that man. I just love that man to bits. I miss him. Adam Silverman, what are you trying to fix at the moment? What problem are you trying to solve?
Man, for me, it's I think there's 2 things on my plate right now. One is, always the ever-going time management, just working through how to run these different businesses the way that I need to run them. So, just trying to stay with time blocks and making sure that I'm focused on the things I'm doing. And then the second side is, particularly at Muletown Digital, the business has really kind of gone into a Y right now, where we've got half of the business is like really big corporate clients doing really complicated tech things, and it's crazy, like in depth. And the other half is like small business marketing. And so it's like, I wake up and I don't know which brain I'm supposed to put on and, which way I'm supposed to think. So that's kind of been, and I think at some point the business will sort of determine which thing we are, and we'll either off branch another brand or we'll stop doing one of the other things. But it feels like, the business is only 3.5 years old. So it feels like I don't need to make that decision yet, but that's kind of what's going on in my world.
How do you, I mean, this is a big question for everyone really, but how do you know what to focus on in any given day, or in fact, I like to think of the days as 2 blocks, right? There's like morning and afternoon. I'm pretty much useless in the afternoon, so I just incubate a lot in the afternoon. I just faff about in the studio, play guitar and think and come up with harebrained ideas that I usually run past you and Simon for feedback, and they go somewhere or they don't. But I'm not don't ask me to do anything mission critical in the afternoon. In the morning, I'm good. But I've given myself permission just to kind of faff about in the afternoon and not be super productive, because I know I'm thinking, right? How do you know what to focus on in any given day? If you've got a list of like 15 things that get done, how do you triage and figure out what the big domino is?
I think I kind of honestly, my wife answers that question for me a lot of times. Like she's really good at giving me feedback as far as like what seems like it's the biggest thing, because usually what I think is the big thing is probably not the big thing. So a lot of times, honestly, I just ask for somebody else to look at it to go like, if you or me, what do you think is going to matter the most? I mean, that's usually kind of where I figure it out from.
Do you tend to feel yourself being pulled towards the stuff that is in your wheelhouse? Like I want to do that because I'm good at it. And this other stuff, which I know is really important, but I have no idea how to do it, kind of gets pushed aside?
No, I think I'm actually the opposite. I tend to go more towards the things that I'm not good at doing, because they have like an irritation factor for me. Like I don't like things that I can't figure out. So if it's between like doing something I'm really good at and going like, the last couple months, I've just put myself in high level because I wanted to understand what it does. Right. Well, it's a fairly steep learning curve. Like it doesn't look like it, but when you get in there, if you're from scratch, like I did, I didn't use any blueprints or frameworks. I just went in there and started building processes that took me 4 years to make. Outside of there, I just went in and started building them. And those, to me, that's just like I do better when I'm put up against something that I can't figure out. I get bored very easily. So like once I learn something, I don't want to touch it anymore, which is why like once I got to a level of programming, I was like, I'm done with this. Somebody else, like I don't want to learn anymore. I know enough and I'm done. Somebody else needs to do it. So I think that's just kind of how my brain, how I'm wired. I like the difficulty of something, like that.
Jennie, we've actually got a time management training that you put together, I think when you first joined Mavericks Club, which is in the members portal. How do you figure out, like you're really good at time blocking. How do you figure out, okay, well, this hour and a half I've got in front of the computer, these are the things that I need to work on?
Yeah, I just have the strategy where I try to break things down into as small of a piece as seems easily doable in a specific time frame. So, for example, I'm presenting at a conference in November where, it's like a workshop where a whole bunch of coaches are going to be there, and and I have an hour that I need to present, and I've never prepared anything that long before, and it seemed like this huge, overwhelming task, like prepare your fearless business workshop presentation. It's like, oh my gosh, that seems really like a lot. And so I was like, all right, this is where, Jennie, you're really good at this. Just sit down, literally write out every step of getting that presentation ready that you're aware of now. Like obviously things come up and you have to kind of add to that list, but it's like, all right, I need to outline outline my talk. That's like a 30-minute thing. Like you can sit down and just, what am I going to say? What are my 6 points or whatever, And then after that, the next 30-minute chunk a week later, or however often I want to work on it, is outline the first bullet, flush it out kind of in a bullet pointed format. So, so I just put that on my calendar. I was like, all right, I've got my list now of all the things I need to do. And then I'm going to work on it every day for 30 days for 30 minutes every day. And then at the end of the month, like I'll have my whole thing written out, and I have confidence in that. I've built enough trust in myself that like, I know I'll show up and I'll actually do that 30 minutes every day, even when it's like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Those thoughts kind of come up. So that's my strategy for anything big.
So breaking it down into something that's not overwhelming and that's something that's achievable and something that you don't look at it and freak out. Like it's interesting. Like I've learned that when I write myself a to-do item, to start with a verb, right? So it's like write, produce, edit, record. So it's a thing, right? And then it's not like, write script for new YouTube video, right? Because I would look at that and I would go, well, one, there's not enough data there for me to do anything with. And two, it's like now I'm looking at a blank page, which is awful. So I'd be really specific with like write outline for the free discoveries dumb video for YouTube. And I'm like, oh, cool, I can do that because I've got context and all I have to do is write the outline. Typically speaking, what I find is I just get into a role and I just do the whole thing. but I just need a starter, like a little
Exactly.
ignition, like I get into it and then I'm an hour and a half later, I'm like, oh, well, the script's done.
Exactly.
Interesting. And how do you know that your team, this is a tricky one. How do you know your team are working on the right thing at the right time? I have no friggin' idea what my team does, but I just trust that they're all grown-ups and they're all doing the right thing. So, and Pete tells me if they're not. But how do you know your team are doing the right thing at the right time? How do you track that?
Yeah, my developer tells me, she's like, Jennie, when I ask her, hey, how are you still liking working with me? How are things going in our one-to-ones? And she's like, Jennie, you were like the most organized person ever. Like, you're so easy to work for. I still do all the project management and in our business, and I just have a system. Like, I know when things need to be done by, and we have it all in our tasks in our project management system. So like, and I review it every day, and so does the team. So like, yeah, I'm just a details person, and so that part of it has come pretty easily to me. But having a project management setup and having project templates and stuff has been really useful, just so that like I know when things need to be done, and so does the team, and they're confident in our workflow too, which helps them enjoy working with us more. So yeah, that's kind of my
Love it. Satisfy my lizard brain. What do you use? What's your project management tool that you use?
You're gonna laugh. We use Notion for project management, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because you kind of have to hack it to make it work. But we just love it.
If it
I
works,
love it so much.
I know people that use Slack as project management. If it works, it works. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Silverman, how do you know your team are doing the right thing at the right time?
I mean, the short answer is I probably don't know. So in Milltown Digital in particular, my GM or ops director, Chris, he pretty much deals with that. So I only see the things that are stuck somewhere. So like we manage in ClickUp, and we use a program called EverHour, I think it is. And so like when people hit thresholds of hours and stuff, I'll get notified and I can go look at those things. But usually I don't look at those reports. I just start asking, hey, what's going on with this? Like, it looks like we're out of budget, like on purpose. Did we miss? Did sales miss? Like a lot of times I'm just looking at it from that perspective. So the details get managed by the department leads and Chris. And then I just kind of come in when everybody's, kind of trying to swim upstream, or usually someone's stuck at that point,
Love it. Hey, just a quick little sidebar here in the comments, courtesy of Dave Foy. It's a true story. When I flew out to London and we shot the high ticket sales funnel course, I met up with Dave Foy in real life. I booked an Airbnb in London, and Dave came and met me, came down on the train and knocked on the door and met me and came up. We realized while we were staying there that we were staying in Jamie Oliver's old flat in London, where he first started his cooking show, had the big spiral staircase that came down. True story. We stayed there. And then we went off and we shot the high ticket sales funnel course, and then went out to Lee Jackson's live event and had a great week. And one of the things that Dave and I admitted to each other during that week is that we were both really quite intimidated about working with each other, because we'd both seen each other create content and create courses. And we were both a little bit intimidated about working with each other. And we both felt like it's something that we had to do, because Dave explained it like he felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff. And so he knew that he was doing the right thing because he was really uncomfortable about it. We had an amazing week, by the way. It was so much fun. We even did a little happy dance at the end, which is in the course. And so segue, I'll try and make this relevant. What I'd love to hear from Adam and Jennie is how, like, Jennie, you're a certified life coach. How are you guys feeling about coaching other agency owners, having been through the kind of the factory here and through the methodology and through the blueprint and through Mavericks Club? How are you feeling now? What kind of, any kind of trepidation or nervousness or anything that you're feeling about now turning around and helping other agency owners through this similar journey? And I'm totally throwing you under the bus here for an answer. We'll start with Jennie.
Well, of course, I mean, there's the trepidation of like, well, yeah, I'm a certified life coach, but I haven't actually like set up shop as a coach and like practiced and like gotten, really confident in my coaching skills. But I'm like, yeah, but you've been coaching your clients for like 3 years. So
Mm.
I'll probably be fine. I don't think I'll really traumatize anyone, but I'm just so excited though, because when I
We'll leave that to Adam. We'll let Adam do the trauma and you do the recovery.
It's usually my job, actually.
And then go through Jennie.
But I'm mostly though, I'm just really excited because the how to start a business, like that how bit is important and it's useful. And like that's what I got the most out of from Agency Mavericks when I first started my business, when I first discovered, all the way back in the WP Elevation days. But mindset is just as important. It doesn't matter if you know the how, if your head isn't in the right space, because you're just not going to take action.
Right, exactly.
And so, and I was able to find the how through like, my certification and kind of going through that training and that community. And I'm so excited to be a coach now with those mindset tools to be able to bring both the how and now also the mindset too. Maybe that's like sounds big of me to say. I'm not trying to like talk myself up, but like I'm just so excited to share these tools because
in fact, full transparency, one of the conversations that Pete and I had over the last few months is that, like, I've always, one of my plans at some point is, because I've seen this work firsthand with myself and some clients, is that I would love to have a psychologist on the books in Australia and in the US. Obviously, there's a bunch of legal reasons why Australian psychologists can't deal with US clients, basically because you guys sue the crap out of everyone if anything goes wrong. And in Australia, we don't do that because we're too drunk and too lazy. So our laws are a bit different. But I'd love to have a psychologist on the books here in Australia and in the States, because what I've seen over the years is that people get stuck, not because they don't have enough information, but they're just not taking enough action because there's some fog between their ears, which is preventing them doing the thing, right? And so when we were talking about the new coaches, I was saying to Pete, it would be amazing for Jennie to come in for two reasons, purely selfishly. One is to bring your life coaching skills to help our members get unstuck from a mindset point of view. But also, I just reckon, completely selfishly, I just reckon I'll become a better coach by hanging out with you and learning about coaching, because I think I'm pretty good at telling people what they should do, but I'm not that good at helping them kind of arrive at the destination themselves. And Pete and I have been talking about the difference between teaching and coaching. There's a big difference between teaching and coaching. And I don't think I'm a great coach. I think I'm a good educator and a good inspirer and a good motivator, but I don't think I've got the patience or the skills to be a very good coach. And so I'm really looking forward to tapping into your expertise and hopefully becoming a better coach. So thanks for being here. We're really, really grateful. Silverman.
We like you too, Adam.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, I mean, Emily has said something about like you'll cover any therapist fees that I cause in coaching. So, that really kind of frees me up to say whatever I want to say. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I think for me, it's like I go back. I have flashbacks of like 17 and 18-year-old Adam trying to teach drum lessons to kids, and I remember just being like, okay, for the last time, you hold it like this. You don't do like it. It made me crazy, but it was teaching, and coaching is such a different, avenue. And for me, I think I've learned a lot of ways to not do things. I've learned a lot of ways to get stuck and just have the perspective of, how can you do this with the least amount of, resistance in your business? Because it's like, I don't know, the linear brain that I have just works really well with going from A to B to C to D. And so I think that's going to be fun. I'm definitely nervous because I've never done this before, so it's a little bit of just kind of a mentality shift for me. But hopefully I'll be able to help some people, get unstuck.
One of the things also that I never realized when I started coaching or educating, one of my mentors actually said it to me, Ed Dale. He said, if you think you know something, teach it or coach it or help other people discover it, because you have to become really good at the thing, because you otherwise you can't, like, you don't advise or help someone with something unless you, doesn't mean you have to be a complete subject matter expert, but you at least need to have, you need to sharpen your own saw before you can help others. You need to fit your own mask first, right? And so just the fact that you're going to be working with other agency owners and helping them overcome their challenges is actually going to help. I think, and I've experienced, will make you a better business owner, because you get off a call with someone, you're like, I should really do that in my business.
You actually learn differently when you purposely learn to teach.
Yeah.
If you intend to learn something so you can teach it, you learn it more thoroughly and better, and it's just a better experience for you, and then of course for whoever you're teaching. So
yeah. Pete, what are you most excited about having 2 new coaches on the team?
Well, being able to handle the growing number of Mavericks and Mavericks Club, and the growing number of, what do we call them? Do we call them accelerators and sales accelerators? Members of Sales Accelerator.
I still call them pilots. People who are in Sales Accelerator, I still think of them as pilot, not pirates, pilots.
Pirates.
And people in Mavericks are kind of Top Guns. That's how I kind of think of it in my head.
Digital marketing pirating, that's a different course. So yeah, I'm excited about being able to fill the gaps of the growing, because our coaches all run successful agencies, so I can only pull so much time out of Johnny and Christina, and they've given me everything that they can possibly give me. So we need to expand that, and I'm really excited about having more brains in the mix, more opinions, more everything, more personalities. Yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited about the fact that they check all my boxes. These new coaches check all my boxes. You have to, for me, if I'm hiring a new coach, it has to be someone who has gone through Mavericks Club and excelled, specifically been coached by me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding about that one. Fit the culture, and are already giving back to the community at a very high level. And both of you two have been doing that for a long time. The only thing I'm worried about, and I'm going to take care of this by sending you a care package, I'm going to send you the right color blue for your offices, so we can get some blue walls in your office, and then we'll sign the paychecks. We can have blue offices.
I have 2 offices, Pete. I'll get you the square footage.
Okay, good.
Love it.
So yeah, I'm excited about having them on board, just to grow the team and help more people. Like the more people we help, the better off I feel. And I will tell you both, you've run successful agencies, you've grown successful agencies from nothing to success, and I will guarantee you that coaching is about to be the most rewarding thing you've ever done in your career. So yeah, so much out of it.
Now, you also, what was really exciting for me and very rewarding and validating for me was to see both of you guys on stage at Mavcon, which was organized before you were coaches. You were just getting up and doing a presentation as a Mavericks Club member, but I kind of knew that you were coming on board as coaches, and then I saw you present at Mavcon. I was like, you guys are just both, and I'm not saying this to, blow smoke where it doesn't belong, but you guys are both just naturals on stage, in front of people, in front of the camera, behind the microphone. Like, you just present really well and have a great disposition. And I know that our members in Sales Accelerator and Mavericks Club are going to get a lot out of hanging out with you guys and learning from you guys and being mentored and becoming friends with you guys. So super appreciative that you guys have joined the team. Thank you so much. And a big shout out to Pete for making the call. And, I wasn't part of this decision-making process at all, which is awesome and very rewarding for me. And I'm super excited to see where we go from here and what you guys do.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah. All right. Look forward to hanging out again in real life soon. Cool, gang. All right, we're at the top of the hour now. It's 50 seconds to go, and this is the Agency Hour, so thanks for being a part of it. Any parting words?
Not for me.
We're
I
all
was going to
good.
say go elevate. We don't say that anymore,
I was
right?
about to say go elevate too, and I was like, wait a
Yes.
minute.
We don't really have a
Keep
sign
the
off.
conversation going. Do we need to say that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
keep the
keep the
conversation going.
conversation
Exactly.
going,
Oh, by the way, feel free to tag these guys in the Digital Mavericks Facebook group. If you're listening to this podcast and you're not in the group, please come and join the Digital Mavericks Facebook group and tag Adam Silverman or Jennie Lakenan and ask them any questions at all. And yeah, keep the conversation going there. And in the meantime, we look forward to speaking with you again next week on the Agency Hour. I don't exactly know who the guest is next week, but we'll put that in the group. We are now streaming onto our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. And then, of course, within about 24 hours, we publish the audio of this as a podcast, which you can find on all the usual podcast channels. So thanks for being a part of it.
I believe it's Dr. Shelley, by the way.
Dr. Sherry Walling. Awesome. Looking forward to that.
Sherry
All right.
Walling.
We'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.